A silent breeze swept across the crystalline domes of New Alexandria, carrying with it the faint hum of fusion reactors and the gentle whisper of terraformed forests. Below, the city sprawled in perfect symmetry, hexagonal plazas of polished moonstone, spires of transparent aluminum reaching toward the artificial sky, and gardens where bioluminescent vines curled around glass pavilions. Here, in the year 5025 CE, peace was not merely the absence of war, it was the very air people breathed. Echoes of perfection, Dr. Amina Reyes drifted through the grand hall of records, her steps echoing softly on the marble floor. She paused. Before the archive's central hollow projection, a rotating globe of Earth overlaid with data streams, tracking 3 millennia of uninterrupted cooperation. Trade routes between Martian colonies and the Jovian moons glowed like veins of living light. Polluted zones had healed. Languages had melded into the Esperanto standard. Cultural divides had dissolved into a singular harmonious mosaic. Yet as she studied the display, a disquiet stirred within her. She touched the conflict index, a bar graph perpetually at 0, and watched it flicker, then remain unchanged. No rebellions, no resource skirmishes, no heroic sagas of struggle. For some, this was utopia perfected. For Amina, it was a walled garden that risked suffocating the human soul. The gathering of minds across the oceanic continent of Eudoxia Prime, the United Terran Concord High Council convened in the Halo Chamber, a ring-shaped auditorium orbiting Europa's ice. Councillors floated in zero gravity, robes trailing like nebulae. At the center bench, Chancellor Li Wei addressed the assembly, her voice calm and measured. 3,000 years without conflict stand as our crowning achievement, yet I sense unrest in our people, yearnings not for violence, but for purpose. Beside her, Admiral Kofi Mensah tapped data on his wrist console. "We see statistical anomalies," he reported. "A quarter of the population dreams of conflict. Our neural surveys indicate rising purpose deficit disorder. They miss what?" He let the question hang. Amina, summoned as a special advisor, activated her comlink. A trio of floating windows appeared before her, each displaying the faces of the councillors. She cleared her throat. "It's not bloodlust," she began. "It's the absence of challenge. Evolutionarily, humans thrive on adversity. Without it, we atrophy, creatively, culturally, even biologically. Conflict, when structured and consensual, can catalyze growth." Murmurs ran through the chamber. Peace had been an unalloyed good, the council believed. But Amina's words, their weight, made them reconsider whether perfection had come at too high a cost. A world unmoored on the terraced viewing decks of Titan City, children giggled as they flew anti-grav kites through the amber mist. Their laughter blended with the soft chirrup of robotic birds, programmed to mimic extinct species. In the Grand Bazaar, merchants traded quantum art relics and handcrafted memory crystals without the slightest bartering. Every need was anticipated and met by the biofabricators that hummed beneath the streets. Yet Juno Marcellus, a former battle mech pilot turned museum docent, felt ill at ease. Her museum, once a shrine to humanity's martial past, had become a quiet mausoleum. Exoskeleton suits lined the walls, their joints frozen in iconic battle poses. Each plaque recounted stories of valor and sorrow, but visitors merely snapped hollow photos and moved on. The docent's voice in empty halls echoed like a requiem. Late at night, Juno would stand before her favorite exhibit, a battered power fist from the siege of Vega Prime. She drummed her fingers on its carbon steel plating and whispered, "Will they ever understand what this meant?" The answer eluded her in the stillness. Seeds of discontent. Back on Earth's surface, the media portrayed unity as bliss. Hollow docudramas reenacted momentous treaties, while virtual reality thrill rides let participants experience epic battles of old, yet sanitized to remove all real danger. Audiences craved authenticity, ratings plunged. Producers scrambled to ramp up excitement, but nothing could simulate genuine stakes. In underground forums, avatar-clad citizens debated the morality of engineered conflict. Some called it folly, a return to barbarism. Others argued it was the only path forward. Graffiti sprouted in forgotten alleyways, strange symbols promising the awakening and purpose through fire. District security drones blinked in confusion, scanning for threats where none had existed in centuries. The call to action, Amina returned to her laboratory atop the perennial archives. Arrayed before her were neurological scanners and dream simulator, HODs. She had spent years cataloguing the rising trends, children born into peace who yearned for challenge, artists stifled by perfection, scientists unmotivated by absence of obstacles. Now she prepared to present her findings to the council once more, this time with a radical proposal. She placed a data slate on the desk and summoned her assistant, a soft-spoken AI named Aurelia. Compile the ritual of reciprocity framework, Amina instructed, referring to the design for a regulated conflict between consenting civilizations. Emphasize the psychological benefits, the creative inspiration, the potential for technological leaps. Aurelia's holographic form shimmered. Proposal initialized. Shall I alert the council of your intent to deliver this at tomorrow's summit? Amina nodded, though her gut tightened. She was about to suggest reintroducing the very thing humanity had forsaken, but she believed the risk was worth the reward. After 3,000 years, it was time to remind humankind of why they had once fought, and for what they must now prepare to strive. As the twin moons of Titan rose in the sky outside her window, Amina Reyes gazed out at a world at peace. Yet, on the cusp of upheaval, in the hush before dawn, she felt the first pulse of anticipation ripple across human hearts, an echo of a distant primal drumbeat. And she knew that soon the silence would shatter, not in terror, but in celebration of life's greatest test. A ripple of anticipation ran through the cosmos when the Thalassian communique arrived. Transmitted across the void from their ocean world capital Aquarian, it carried no threat, only an invitation. Yet in its crystalline script lay the promise of change. Arrival of the missive in the serene command deck of the Aurora's Mirror, the Concorde's flagship diplomatic cruiser. Communications officer Liara Shu watched the message decode on her holoscreen. The alien glyphs danced like currents in deep water. When the final frame rendered, she read aloud, "Your era of stasis offends the natural flow of the cosmos. We propose a contest to reawaken the balance. No salutation, no demand for tribute, only a challenge." Shu felt her heart quicken. She tapped her console and alerted Captain Aaron Malik. Within moments, the entire crew gathered around the display, vases illuminated by soft teal light. For 3,000 years, humanity had stared into silence. Now, an alien voice demanded engagement. Diplomatic crossroads word of the Thalassian proposal spread through the United Terran Concorde like wildfire. On Europa's halo chamber, councillors debated fervently. Chancellor Li Wei, they offer a contest, not conquest. Could this be a path to revitalizing our civilization? Ambassador Tala Soren, we cannot ignore a genuine invitation from another sentient race. Yet we must proceed with caution. This could mask aggression. Senator Marcus Duval. Perhaps it is time we embraced structured conflict. It rekindles ingenuity, unity, and purpose. In conference rooms across Mars, Venus, and Titan, think tanks convened. Philosophers weighed ethics, scientists modeled scenarios, military strategists drafted engagement protocols. The central question prevailed: could war be an instrument of peace? 2.3. The Treaty of Erythrea. 3 weeks later, beneath the neon-lit arches of the neutral station, Erythrea, an ancient asteroid converted into a diplomatic hub, human and Thalassian envoys met. The cavernous assembly hall thrummed with anticipatory energy. Thalassians, their fluid forms shimmering in containment fields, bore no weapons. Humans, clad in ceremonial white, stood at ease. Amina Reyes stepped forward as the human lead advisor. She had spent days crafting the treaty framework alongside Thalassian xenopsychologist Vlak Thur. Together, they unveiled the Treaty of Erythrea, whose key clauses included venue and boundaries. The Titan expanse, a region of fragmentary ice fields and null gravity pockets, would host the contest. Rules of engagement: only non-lethal weaponry, no civilian targets, all wounded to be teleported to medical arrays. Victory conditions: points awarded for strategic objectives, territory control, resource acquisition, technological innovation. Scientific exchange: each side to share research gleaned from combat scenarios, promoting mutual advancement. When the final signatures glowed in holographic ink, turquoise for Thalassians, golden for humans, a hushed awe enveloped the hall. The first regulated interspecies war was sanctioned, not as bloodshed, but as a grand experiment in cosmic cooperation. The firestorm of public rejoicing news feeds across the Concorde exploded. In New Alexandria's plazas, citizens cheered and waved hollow flags. Street musicians composed marches that blended human drums with Thalassian choral chimes. On Luna's arcology slopes, children raced to build model warships from salvaged drone parts. Even the most serene meditation temples added combat contemplation sessions, where monks visualized mock battle strategies to cultivate mental resilience. Social platforms buzzed with anticipation. Holovloggers speculated on tactics. Poets penned odes to the coming clash. Virtual athletes choreographed zero-G battle dances. For the first time in generations, humanity had a collective obsession, one born not of fear, but of eager expectancy. Forging the arsenal behind the scenes, engineers labored to adapt peace-era technology for the contest. In the fabricator bays of Ceres Prime, plasma lances were calibrated for controlled discharge. In the orbital shipyards of Ganymede, gravity skimmers were outfitted with modular payloads. On Neptune's moon, Proteus, bioengineers grew living. Drones resembling luminescent sea creatures using Thalassian biotech under strict accords. Captain Rio Tanaka oversaw the construction of his flagship, Gallant Horizon. He walked the deck plates, tapping panels and testing thrusters. Beside him, Chief Engineer Darius Holt grinned as containment fields flickered to life. "Feels good to have a purpose again," Tanaka remarked, voice steady. "To test our mettle against someone worthy," Darius nodded, inhaling the tang of recycled air mixed with fresh ionized plasma. "We'll show them what humanity can do." As the Treaty of Erythrea took effect, the universe seemed to hold its breath. Across the stars, two species prepared to clash, not in hatred but in harmonious rivalry. In the stillness before battle, hope and excitement blended into a singular pulse, the promise of rediscovered purpose. Soon, the first shot would echo through the Titan expanse, and the age of cosmic contests would begin. With the Treaty of Erythrea ratified and fleets mobilizing, the cosmos transformed into a colossal workshop of warcraft and wonder. Humanity and the Thalassians alike poured their ingenuity into preparing the Titan expanse for the ultimate test of strength and spirit. Sculpting the arena in the void surrounding Titan's orbit, asteroid rings were reshaped into colossal arenas. Human graviton engineers deployed manipulation drones to carve cavernous hollows in ice-laden rocks, creating amphitheaters of jagged walls and cataclysmic chasms. Across the gaps, shifting bridges of magnetized metal could be raised or collapsed, at will, altering pathways mid-battle. Meanwhile, Thalassian bioconstructors wove living coralline lattices across the ice, their bioluminescent filaments pulsing in rhythmic patterns to signal environmental shifts, torrential cryostorms, or sudden low-gravity zones. Where human design prized precision, Thalassians favored organic fluidity. Together, the hybrid arenas became living battlefields, ever-changing and beautiful in their lethal potential. Assembling the fleets at Lagrange Point 5, the grand muster commenced. Human dreadnoughts, their obsidian hulls streaked with searing plasma conduits, formed disciplined lines. Each ship bristled with modular weapon pods, railguns, particle lances, and drone bays ready to unleash swarms of microfighters. Pilots ran through final calibrations in holocubicles, hearts pounding with eagerness long dormant. Opposing them, the Thalassian leviathans drifted in a spectacle of grandeur. These living vessels, grown from organic alloys, glowed softly in cerulean hues. Their command spines arched like the back of an immense seahorse, and from flanks unfurled fins that rippled with silent currents. Aboard, Thalassian tacticians, their translucent forms floating in biotic suspension tanks, hummed ancient songs of war, their voices weaving through the water-filled corridors. Rules of engagement. In the neutral zone's central control hub, Amina Reyes and Vilak Thur, Thalassian xenopsychologist, stood before a vast holomatrix. They had been entrusted with enforcing the engagement protocols, non-lethal ordnance. All weaponry must incapacitate, not destroy. Disintegrators were prohibited. Ion nets and plasma stunners were the standard. Civilian sanctuary. Automated. Shields protected research outposts and medical arrays, ensuring no bystander suffered harm. Dynamic objectives. Mission goals would shift every 12 hours, demanding adaptability, from capturing energy nodes to redirecting cryostorms. Data exchange. Outcome data streamed in real time to both sides, fostering technological cross-pollination. When the final override tone chimed, protocols locked into the arena's core. Emina's chest swelled with pride. This was war reimagined, structured, cavalier, and brimming with promise. Training for the unthinkable. On the low-gravity plains of Ceres, human ground forces practiced micro-combat in exosuits. Marines darted through hollow projected ice pillars, firing stun cartridges that painted the dark with neural disrupting arcs. Each squadron drilled on teamwork drills, flanking maneuvers, breach and clear tactics, emergency redeployments. Simultaneously, Thalassian shock divers refined their current stream assaults. In aquajets tethered to floating platforms, they learned to modulate water density, forming high-pressure jets to breach human armor or to cloak their approach in swirling vortexes. Their veterans taught aerial gliders to navigate void fields, turning the empty expanse into a dance of stalking shadows. Hotshot pilot Marisol Vega, assigned to the human strike wing, marveled at the simulations. "It's like nothing I've ever flown," she told her co-pilot. "Every run feels alive." Her partner grinned beneath his helmet. "That's the point." Bonds forged in innovation even as preparations intensified, moments of unity glimmered. In the orbital fabrication yards, human machinists and Thalassian bioengineers swapped techniques. A human welder learned to splice living coral alloy into frame supports. A Thalassian architect studied graviton coupling to stabilize their living ships. In shared mess halls, pods of recycled air scented with synthesized sea mist and earth rain, stories flowed. Humans spoke of ancient wars that shaped their legends. Thalassians sang of oceanic depths and the ancient currents of their home world. Laughter echoed, where once there had been only polite silence. By the time the final skylifts descended to Titan's icy surface, an unspoken camaraderie had taken root. Both species knew they would challenge each other fiercely, yet each encounter would also deepen mutual respect. The gathering storm was nearly upon them, not a harbinger of doom, but the clarion call of destiny. As D0 hour approached, the twin commanders made their final preparations. Turrets hummed to life, shields rippled with energy, and every warrior gripped their weapon of choice. In that charged stillness, hope and excitement coalesced into a single, electrifying moment. Soon, the first salvo would break the silence, and, with it, a new chapter in the shared saga of humanity and its cosmic counterpart. At last, the silence of the Titan expanse shattered. In the pale glow of distant Saturn, two proud species unleashed the spark that would reignite purpose across the stars. Dawn of reckoning, the artificial sun of the battle arena rose through. Fractured ice clouds at 05:59 Galactic Standard Time. Thin shafts of light pierced the cryofog, illuminating drifting shards of cometary rock. Human dreadnoughts and Thalassian leviathans floated in tense formation, their hull lights reflecting off the ice like twin constellations poised for collision. On board Gallant Horizon, Captain Rio Tanaka stood on the command deck, fingers steepled beneath his chin. Around him, pilot helms hummed with pre-launch checks. Sensor operators calibrated target arrays. Engineers monitored shield harmonics. Every heartbeat seemed amplified. "Brace yourselves," Tanaka intoned. "In 3, 2, 1, 4.2. The signal to fire a single pulse, an unremarkable ping on the neutral channel frequency, served as the order. At 06:03, human railguns flared to life, spitting tungsten slugs that arced toward the nearest Thalassian flank. The projectiles trailed incandescent wakes, gilded streaks against the void. Moments later, Thalassian response. Bioluminescent torpedoes, crafted from living tissue and plasma, glided forward on silent currents. They detonated in controlled blasts, fracturing nearby ice fields and sending cryoshards cascading like frozen fireworks. The arena shuddered under the reverberations, gravity wells flickering as safety protocols engaged. Ballet of battle. In the low-gravity corridors between asteroid spires, fighter squadrons engaged in a deadly dance. Human aces looped through vortex tunnels, trailing ion nets to ensnare Thalassian drones. In return, the alien pilots twisted through plasma currents, their ships' bioreactive hulls shifting shape to slip past point defense lasers. Lieutenant Marisol Vega banked her interceptor sharply, narrowly avoiding a torrent of cryoshards. Through her comm, she heard her wingman's exhilarated shout, "They're good, real good." Vega laughed. "Show me water weavers do a barrel roll." She dove into the fray, relishing the surge of adrenaline that had been absent for centuries. The tide turns as the skirmish spread. Human ground teams made their move on cryonode outposts. Exo-suited Marines rappelled down ice cliffs, plasma stunners in hand, racing to capture energy cores that would grant tactical advantages. At one node, Sergeant Li Chen planted a portable shield generator just as Thalassian shock divers arrived. In swirling current suits, steel met aqueous cloak in a clash of styles. Chen's squad fired disciplined volleys of stunners, while the Thalassians responded with compressed water jets that carved through snow like ghostly blades. Neither side yielded until both realized their mutual respect. At that moment, the combatants paused, locked eyes behind visors, and nodded, a silent promise to push each other harder in the battles to come. Echoes of discovery. By midday, the first cycle of objectives concluded. Both sides withdrew to orbital medical pods to tend to bruises and shell-shocked nerves. Data logs poured into shared arrays, new insights on gravity manipulation, hull integrity under cryo-stress, and the psycho-emotional effects of consensual combat. Dr. Amina Reyes reviewed biometric readings with Valak Thur. Heart rates peaked, then settled into sustained elevations, signs of heightened creativity and focus. "They're alive again," Amina murmured, awe in her voice. The Thalassian scholar's fluid form pulsed in agreement. "In the crucible of conflict, we forge our best selves." Point 6. The calm before the next storm, as the arena's artificial dusk began to fall, floating platforms reconfigured, and holographic beacons reset the next objectives. Pilots returned to their ships, soldiers to their posts, engineers to their consoles. The first battle had been a symphony of controlled chaos, proof that regulated war could reignite invention, camaraderie, and purpose. On gallant horizons, Bridge, Captain Tanaka allowed himself a rare smile. "This is only the beginning," he said. Across the void, the Thalassian flagship, Abyssal Tide, mirrored the gesture in bioluminescent waves. In that moment, humans and Thalassians alike understood. War had returned not as an end, but as a beginning, the spark that would light the way to new heights of unity and discovery.